Previously on Oliver's Dolls. Later in the year, Creatable World would get an entire Time article for their launch, ending up on UK shelves 2 days after their US launch. The brand... Yeah, let's do that one next. Creatable World was a doll line by Mattel launched in late September of 2019, positioned as a line of gender-neutral fashion dolls. They each featured full articulation, youthful faces, mix and match outfits, and long and short hair options, but with no set gender on the doll itself, so kids could present their doll with whatever identity they wanted. This was a line bolstered as a bastion of progression from one of the market's biggest companies, and a part of the charge against the rigid gender marketing that Mattel itself had been a part of. I mean, Barbie was the pink doll, aimed almost exclusively at girls from its outset. And while Mattel had made efforts to diversify their top doll, old perceptions die hard. But Creatable World was different, and Mattel wanted the world to know about it. Hence the massive marketing push that they gave the line with a launch article in Time magazine and extensive global press. So this line was a big deal. A big deal that lasted 2 years and ended up a mere footnote in Mattel's efforts of inclusivity. So, what happened with this charming, detailed, high-quality doll line with a positive message and blockbuster marketing? I have some ideas, and while we will be getting into that good speculation about why the line ended, I also wanted to just celebrate it a little. If I can just show you, I have all 9, this is gonna take a while, I have all 9 of the Creatable World Deluxe kits. All of them. And I didn't have to specifically buy any of these for the video because I already had them, because I already loved this line. So consider this a part retrospective, part analysis of the way Mattel championed and eventually forgot about a seeming lightning rod of gender nonconformity in the doll market. This is Creatable World, a Doll Autopsy. Hi everyone, I'm Ari Lynette, and welcome to the Gollyverse. I had a disclaimer about speculation in my Wild Hearts Crew video, and this video is going to have a very similar disclaimer. Any speculation or theorizing I make about Creatable World is purely in theory. It's just based in trying to piece together what I can from on the internet. Please don't take any of my ideas as facts, and please take them all with a responsible and critical eye. That is what I would do if I was seeing this information. The other disclaimer I need to make is regarding this line's subject matter. This is a line based in gender fluidity, non-binary gender identities, and more generally trans identities in relation to the toy market. Since this line got a major publicity push from Mattel, it did get a lot of backlash in the media. I'll be touching on the backlash briefly within this video as it relates to my speculation, but I'm not going to dwell on it or feature it too much in the video for many reasons. First of all, I don't want to particularly amplify a bunch of hateful press. These people get enough attention as it is, and they don't need any of mine. 2, as a gender non-conforming person myself, anti-trans rhetoric in the past few years, both in the UK and US, has been frankly suffocating, and there's only so much of it I personally want to consume and analyze. And 3, most importantly, this is a video aimed at collectors about a doll line, with many of us being queer or trans ourselves. I don't want to make this video too heavy or even potentially triggering for people that just wanted to come in and watch a video about some dolls. Also, if you're just here to be hateful towards gender neutrality and trans people in general, just fuck off, I don't have time for it. Don't waste your time, your comment's getting deleted anyway. So, time for me to be positive again. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? So this is going to be a problem, clearly. There we go. There we go. The lead designer of Creatable World is Linda Zhang, a senior product designer at Mattel. Prior to Creatable World, Zhang had worked with Mattel on their Barbie, Polly Pocket, Cuckoo Harajuku, and WWE Superstars doll lines, as well as some of Disney Store's past releases from the Classic Range, Animators Collection, and live-action Cinderella dolls. Zhang and her team were led by 2 of Mattel's senior vice presidents, Kim Kulmon, who is also the global head of design for both Barbie and Mattel's wider fashion doll portfolio, and Lisa McKnight, who was at the time Barbie's general brand manager and would later be promoted to global head of Barbie and dolls for Mattel. Elena New, who you might recognise from my video on Wild Hearts Crew, was the manager of product design, also overseeing Creatable World. Other personnel include Mio Iwasaki on face design, Kitaya Wangshinda on body sculpting, Eric Vasquez on the illustrations featured on the dolls' outfits, Kristen Levesque on branding and packaging, and Savannah Bradford on the line's social media campaign. Again, this isn't a complete list, but based on what credits I could find online. According to Colmone in an interview with Forbes, Creatable World was born partially out of Mattel's awareness of greater cultural shifts in the way children perceive gender, as well as observations on how children play with dolls, and parents' concerns over genderized toys.
These ideas were then incorporated into a set of prototypes, which were used as part of in-home testing sessions, ones that apparently went very well.
When we started to get these dolls in particular in front of kids, it was incredible. It was so intuitive for them and they didn't need explanation and they sparked to it right away.
An interview with Zhang claims that the dolls were initially tested with 250 families across 7 states, including 15 children who identify as trans, gender non-binary, and/or gender fluid. They also said that the brand's research, design, development, and launch took somewhere in the ballpark of 2 years. I'm not sure if this is 100% confirmed, but judging by this Amazon Australia link for one of the deluxe kits, plus some file names from portfolio assets, Creatable World might have once gone by the codename Project Canvas.
And for the majority of the line's development, and for only a few days
before
it was unveiled, it was kept under wraps.
The only things that really slipped through the cracks were a couple of stock images in the few days before the Time article and public product listings went up on September 25th, 2019. Creatable World started off with a mainly online exclusive launch of 6 deluxe character kits, though some smaller domestic and international retailers like Smith's in the UK would get them in stores too. These original kits were unveiled alongside an article in Time magazine. The article described the launch of the line, its development, statistics behind why Mattel decided to launch the line, and a lot of cultural, social, and political factors that link to how big of a deal this line is. And boy, do I have some thoughts on it.
Not to be an anti-corporate cynic or anything, but the Time article and a lot of the surrounding press around this launch does give off a bit of a self-congratulatory vibe.
In an article for Medium, writer Devon Price called it admittedly quite well written and well reported for what amounts to a full-page toy advertisement.
Going back to this article, I didn't realize how big it was. Not in terms of like how significant it was, but in terms of, God, this is a lot of words.
Like, paste this into a Word document with size 11 font, and it's a good 5.5 pages.
And the more I read of the article, the more I realized how little it actually goes into the dolls themselves.
There are a few paragraphs that describe the dolls, the experience of a child playing with them, and a decent amount of launch info, but there are definitely points where the line felt secondary compared to a more general discussion of gender fluidity in young people, complete with statistics and accounts from testing groups. There's also an interesting block about how corporations respond to social issues and activism, how in this day and age big companies have to be savvy in order to appeal to liberal customers. I found this section of the article very telling, especially when you pair it with an earlier section about how Mattel knows they'll get backlash for the line, but they're going for it anyway because they want to be seen as innovators and wouldn't want to stay neutral on such a hot topic.
And I don't mean to say that to diminish the quality of the article. I want to give it the credit for how it really does go into depth justifying the line's existence, both as a business move and from a cultural standpoint.
Hi, quick editing note, I wasn't really sure where to put this, but I really wanted to highlight this specific part of the Time launch video as just a really great point around Creatable World that I wanted to highlight as a positive.
You know, it's so funny, parents often tell me that they want to raise their boys to be really wonderful fathers. How do we expect to raise wonderful, nurturing fathers if we don't encourage nurturing play when they're boys?
But as someone who's sat through all 95 times Disney has claimed a first gay character to every media outlet they can find, I'm not going to engage with any piece of press uncritically.
And from what I can see, Mattel's participation and cooperation with the article, one that probably wouldn't have existed if they weren't involved with it, is at the very least partially self-serving.
Of course, there was an absolute tidal wave of other press for this line, from your big news sites like your BBCs, your NPRs, your New York Times, plus a bunch of other random sites covering it like Good Housekeeping?
My God, there's room for everybody, let's just say that.
A lot of this press was more plainly informative and almost apathetic, other than, oh yeah, the reactionary right-wing quote-unquote news sites that condemn the dolls as these evil woke demons coming to indoctrinate children because anything queer or trans, especially relating to kids, is apparently unforgivably repugnant to them. Oh, and 1 million moms made a petition for Mattel to kill the line because that's presumably the only hobby these people have.
A lot of the content these people spew out is just designed for clicks and doesn't have any real substance. I'd rather pay my attention to more thoughtful critique, particularly particularly from those actually within LGBTQ+ spaces, commentary that does exist and is way more worthy of both my time and being explored in this video.
I cited Devon Price earlier, who wrote an article about the line for Medium, sharing his perspective as a social psychologist and a trans man. Price argued that the dolls weren't necessarily good non-binary representation and promoted an idealized picture of androgyny. Price cited the slenderness of the dolls playing into stereotypes of androgyny, as well as the erasure of more diverse non-binary bodies. Meanwhile, the tomboyish nature of the dolls and haircuts presented an overly AFAB-centric view of gender neutrality, while associating the dolls' soft features with androgyny had worrying roots in transmisogyny and racism.
We don't need to create dolls that are scrubbed of all gendered features. Instead, we need to stop gendering features that people don't have control over.
Another article from Alex Myers, a trans man and author who was the first openly trans student at Harvard, was written on Creatable World as part of Slate's LGBTQ+ coverage. Myers wrote that the line still presented a somewhat binary image and portrayed gender expression in a more surface-level, superficial way.
These dolls only further entrench that misunderstanding and simultaneously reinforce the idea that gender is playful and easy to switch around. Accusations that are often leveled at trans youths when they come out.
His overall take was that the line was safe and palatable, a gender-ambiguous, body-erased, rather androgynous piece of plastic, rather than the revolutionary product it claimed to be. Both of the articles I've cited will be listed in the description. I'd highly recommend reading both of them, as I could only cover bits and pieces in this video.
I wasn't aware of a lot of the issues and implications of the line until I read these articles, but it really opened my mind about how, despite the line's progressive marketing, it could also just as easily reinforce stereotypes and biases around gender nonconformity.
The heavy marketing push for Creatable World did result in some accolades. It was a finalist in the Doll of the Year category at that year's Toy of the Year Awards, and made the list of Time's 100 Best Inventions of the Year. Probably the strangest honour was the inclusion of one of the deluxe character kits in the Victoria and Albert Museum's online collection, alongside the original Ken doll, Malibu Barbie, and Fidget Friends. You know, Fidget Friends. The culturally significant phenomenon Fidget Friends.
Now that we've talked about Creatable World as a concept and its launch, let's actually get into the dolls themselves. These ones that I bought all of because I have too much disposable income apparently.
As I mentioned earlier, I have all 9 of the deluxe character kits that were released in 2019 and 2020. The original 6 kits from 2019 included a base doll, with shorter hair rooted into its head, wearing a simple fabric tank top and shorts in either white or black. The accessories included a longer hairpiece designed to go on top of the doll's rooted hair, plus a long sleeve top, a short sleeve top, a jacket, a skirt, some shorts, some longer trousers, 3 pairs of shoes, either a fabric or plastic hat, a pair of glasses or sunglasses, a fabric tote bag, and a poster card featuring the multitude of mix and match options ahead of you. These dolls weren't sold as preset characters, but as blank canvases for kids to create their own character, so they instead went by numbers with the prefix of DC, standing for Deluxe Character. DC619 has fair, cool-toned skin, green eyes and muted auburn hair, with a straight, longer hairpiece. DC073 has fair, golden-toned skin, brown eyes and black hair, also with a straight, longer hairpiece. DC414 has light, warm-toned skin with a little bit of a tan, grey-blue eyes and ash-blonde hair with an undercut, with a wavier, longer hairpiece. DC220 has medium-toned skin, green eyes and curly hair in a blend of brown and honey blonde, with a longer, curly hairpiece. DC826 has warm brown skin, brown eyes and a mix of straight and curly brown hair, with a longer, wavier hairpiece. DC725 has dark, warm-toned skin, brown eyes and dark brown textured hair on top, shaved back and sides, with a longer, micro-braided hairpiece. These 6 kits were released in September 2019, though DC826 did get a later release in most retailers than the others, being held back a few months or so. The original kits come in these enclosed boxes rather than a window box, and once you slide out the main box from the outer sleeve, all of the contents are in this Operation-style tray with a plastic cover on top. Take off that cover and everything pops out of the tray pretty easily. Even the doll is free of the plastic ties you see from most doll unboxings. The bodies were intentionally designed to be more childlike, with slender proportions and no real curves or bumps. It's very deliberately nondescript and devoid of specifically gendered features. The arms look pretty standard, but the legs and especially the torso exhibit this more straight up and down build. The only real details are a moulded belly button and some light sculpting at the back. Height-wise, they stand just a couple of centimeters below standard Monster High bodies, but a bit taller than an LOL OMG doll. The dolls feature articulation of the neck, shoulders, elbows, wrists, hips, knees, and ankles. The articulation is decent, nothing impressive, but similar to Wild Heart's crew. Some joints are a little stiff, like the hips and knees, the neck could really use a greater range of motion, but the wrists and elbows are pretty fluid and dynamic. The ankle joints do make shoe removal quite difficult, as it's a looser and oddly dainty joint, and they impact how well the dolls can stand on their own. The faces have a very natural and youthful look. They all have a very similar, virtually makeup-free screening, with the only differences being the eye and lip colours, with decently clear facial printing, if not a little grainy. The head molds are marked 2018, as are the bodies, and from what I can tell, these all use the same head sculpt with a small button nose and slim but pronounced lips.
The biggest flaw of this line, and I feel like most people agree with this one, is the hairpiece mechanism.
The hair itself is pretty good. I'm almost certain these dolls have saran, though the shorter cuts have a lot of product in them and aren't the easiest to deal with. A real issue comes with the way the longer hairpieces stack on top of the doll's rooted shorter hair.
Not well, bitch.
Yeah, if you're expecting a seamless look as presented on the boxes, you're gonna have to work for it. Otherwise, the very prominent wig cap will stick out like a massive plastic sore thumb. Even if you can camouflage the wig cap, blending the hair still might not look convincing, and the dolls with shaved sides especially suffer with the hairpieces not really fitting properly. There's a reason why the beanies are some of my most utilised pieces. The hairpieces can also make wearing the included glasses a good bit more challenging.
The addition of the hairpiece to the overall experience is a pretty key element of the line, so it's a shame to see it not executed very well.
A more refined design, or even a less prominent wig cap, could have really been beneficial for the feature to work in the way people would want it to. Moving on from the biggest flaw to possibly the best part of this line, the outfits. Each deluxe kit alone allows for a lot of mixing and matching, so you can imagine the amount of fun you can get into with multiple kits. Plus, the outfit quality is pretty damn good, bypassing a majority of Mattel's usual cost-cutting measures. Stylistically, the pieces might not have the edge that some collectors might prefer, but how can you say no to a great mix of fabrics, including proper denim, near-universally hemmed pieces, and most shockingly, working zippers. Working zippers!
Do you know how excited I was when I found out about this?
DC's 414 and 220 each include a jacket with a real working zipper, and 220's has a functioning hood too. Having all 9 kits and seeing this massive pile of clothing pieces with a great mix of colourful and neutral pieces is by far my favourite part of the experience. Special shoutouts to this very well constructed denim jacket, these snazzy dungarees, and these 2 skirts with really cute colourful camo prints. Oh, and this Freezer Pop skirt, love this one. The accessories are a little more simple. It's pretty much just tote bags or fabric backpacks, a mix of plastic and fabric hats, and glasses of both the regular and sunny variety in limited molds. But they're still a nice addition. The fabric hats are definitely my favourite pieces, such as the aqua beanie on DC 220 and the red beret on DC 073. But there are some cool shoe choices too, with quite a wide range of plimsolls, pumps, sandals, sneakers, and boots. Even my Liv Sophie doll borrowed a pair.
All the while I've been demoing these dolls, I've been mostly talking about the original launch of 6 out of the 9 deluxe kits. But I haven't so far gotten into those other 3 kits yet. That's because those came out alongside the brand's second launch. Oh yeah!
Creatable World would receive a second smaller launch in Target stores across the US at the very start of 2020. The launch focused predominantly on adding smaller, more modular and affordable products to the lineup, as well as making the packaging more compatible to in-store purchasing. The original 6 deluxe character kits were relaunched in new packaging that featured everything from the first editions except for the fabric bags and poster cards. The dolls from the character kits were also sold separately in basic tees and shorts in new character starter sets, which included the hair pieces as their only accessory. New individual outfits were made and sold as single fashion packs or style kits, while larger style kits included recolors of the 3 outfits, accessories and shoes from deluxe sets 619, 220, 826, and 725. 3 sets of fantasy wig packs were also launched, using a similar mechanism to the hair pieces from the deluxe kits.
I don't own any of the fantasy wig packs, so I'm not sure whether or not they use a different hair fibre to what's used on the dolls from the deluxe kits. Either what's rooted in their head or what's used in the hair pieces. I'm also not sure whether they work any better than the hairpieces from the kits.
Along with all of this, 2 new deluxe character kits were released in the new packaging. DC965 has light yellow toned skin, blue eyes and wavy hair in a blend of lighter and darker browns, with a longer wavier hairpiece. DC319 has deep dark cool toned skin, brown eyes and a deep brown cropped afro, with their hairpiece having longer textured curls. These first 2 kits were released alongside the Target in-store launch, but were also sold online on both domestic and international sites. DC319 came out a little bit after DC965, but they were generally out around the same time. Fall 2020 saw the release of a third new kit, the 9th in total, which kinda came out of nowhere. DC557 has tanned golden toned skin, brown eyes and a blend of deep brown and black hair, with a longer straight hairpiece. DC557 is also the third doll to include a jacket with a real working zipper. These will never cease to amaze me. The last noteworthy release from Creatable World was the Creatable Closet, a locker-style playset that included railings with coat hangers, mini storage boxes, and a spot to fit your own Creatable World doll, plus stickers, a hat stand, and a couple of new clothing pieces. This was presumably to help store the many fashions you'd get with the various kits, or at least that's what it would be for me if I wasn't shoving them all in an old Wild Heart screw box.
I've only ever seen out-of-stock listings for this product, and I don't think I've ever seen any reviews of it either, so I'm not really sure when or where or even if this product was released.
The only other products I've been curious about are an extra Fantasy Week kit that never came out with the others, plus this Panda onesie style kit that was displayed at Toy Fair in 2020 but never turned up on shelves to my knowledge. The backs of some of the boxes on the style kits and character starter sets also displayed dolls in recoloured pieces based on the outfits from DC's 073 and 414. These might have been planned as future style kits, but who's to say? And while the dolls that did get released would drift steadily into discount territory over late 2020 and 2021, Mattel quietly issued a statement on the line at the tail end of 2021, within a more widely encompassing Allure article on doll diversity.
A Mattel spokesperson says they are hitting pause on growing the line at this time.
Since then, we haven't heard a peep in terms of new releases or developments for this line.
In a way, I kinda understand why there haven't been more releases after this.
They executed the concept in 2 different release methods, the wide range of deluxe kits from the first launch, then the more modular approach of smaller kits in the second launch, and it seemed like neither of them sold that well.
They covered pretty much the whole scope of what the line could do, and if neither of those approaches resonated with audiences, I'm not sure if there was a way for the line to succeed. But wait a minute, why would Mattel give up on a line they put so much into?
They launched Creatable World with a massive publicity push, like Barbie-level press, rolled it out internationally almost immediately, gave it multiple launches, and championed it as part of Mattel's efforts to diversify their toy ranges.
They wouldn't just let this line go, right? Right? Okay. So the truth is, I'm not that interested on why Creatable World ended. I feel like I know the reason to that already. What I'm interested to know is why this line was greenlit and why Mattel launched this line the way they did in the first place.
This is the one thing that's been chomping at me for a good 2 years or so. For a line that got this much publicity and this strong a global rollout, it was also a big risk with not the biggest mainstream appeal. Mattel took a chance on Creatable World knowing it would only appeal to progressive audiences, and knowing it would get a lot of backlash, either making Mattel look like amazing forward thinkers to some people, or like a big queer antichrist to others.
And the thing is, I think the people at the top of Mattel knew that.
I don't think they let the line launch despite the potential backlash. I think they let it launch in some ways to leverage that backlash.
What I'm saying is, there's a sizable part of me that thinks that Mattel launched this line partially as a publicity move. Now please don't get me wrong. I 100% believe that the designers of Creatable World made this line out of genuine love and passion.
There are plenty of people working at Mattel who are passionate about creating inclusive products and having LGBTQ+ representation be a part of it. The way I've heard people like Linda Zhang and Kim Coleman talk about their work shows how important this is to them. What I'm talking about here is Mattel as a corporation, the senior stakeholders, that ruthless arm of the company that, to an extent, we all know is there. Mattel is one of the biggest toy companies in the world, and they have to appeal to wide audiences. This is a company that will make a character pink instead of blue if they think kids will like it more.
When they launch any product on the market, it's important to remember that Mattel is not merely altruistic with the products they put out. They don't launch lines like this out of the goodness of their heart. If they greenlight a product or a concept to launch, there's likely a reason for it.
And while Creatable World has excellent quality, charming designs, and a somewhat groundbreaking formula for doll customization, it's also a line which is so firmly entrenched in the, let's face it, polarizing theme of gender fluidity. It's not really a line designed to have a massive appeal.
But what it does have is talkability.
And people will talk, whether it's about Mattel being on the forefront of inclusivity or spreading some sort of evil gay agenda.
In the short term, that's a bunch of people talking about Mattel and their gender-neutral doll line, even if it's about how much they hate Mattel and their new gender-neutral doll line. In the long term, however, what more can the line do?
There's only so much media mileage that the company will get out of Creatable World, unless they can build on it in a way big enough to make Fox News blow a gasket.
Like, what are they gonna do? Release a new kit every 3 months and expect right-wing media to react with the same bombast every time? No, the press is gonna see it as old news, and they'll move on to some other topic, like a drag queen breathed today and I'm mad about it.
So, once you get that mileage from the launch publicity, all Mattel can really do now is see how these dolls actually sell, and unfortunately the line didn't do well enough for them. And if a line isn't doing well, then to global toy giant Mattel, that makes it pretty disposable.
But wait, Creatable World isn't the only example of LGBTQ+ representation in Mattel's doll lines, right?
American Girl has been touching on some queer and trans-adjacent topics with their recent book on body image, and the inclusion of LGBT family members in books surrounding 2021's Girl of the Year doll. But they're all relatively minor pieces of media when you look at the brand as a whole, and the Girl of the Year line is designed to get discontinued after a year or so. Oh, but what about Monster High and the new version of Frankie Stein? Surely having a non-binary lead character in a successful doll line is a powerful act on Mattel's behalf. And yes, it's amazing to see Frankie stand tall as a lovable and visible non-binary character, but Frankie is just one character within a larger franchise, and from what I can see, Mattel has been quite sparing with how they've acknowledged their gender identity. It's mentioned in the movie, TV series, and music video, but their pronouns aren't mentioned on any of their doll boxes, and it was a mere footnote in the launch press for G3. Heck, Mattel themselves has misgendered them in numerous product descriptions.
As far as doll-specific marketing goes, Mattel has only made as much of an effort as beneficial to publicize Frankie's identity, which, as bleak as it sounds, would make them a lot less of a lightning rod for controversy.
The common thread with these two examples is that they depict LGBTQ+ representation within each doll line's affiliated media, not so much the dolls themselves. This seems like what Mattel has been more comfortable dabbling in, whereas with a line like Creatable World, the product is, dare I say, rooted in queerness, and can't really be divorced from it in the same way you can divorce American Girl's Kira Bailey from her two great aunts mentioned in that one book. So as far as I can see, it makes sense to Mattel for bigger brands like Monster High and American Girl to have those bits of representation be more limited to media, and for a smaller, more undeniably gender non-conforming brand like Creatable World to burn bright and then fade out.
I could have easily ended this video being mad at Mattel, but after the end of it all, I genuinely don't think I can be. Yeah, I don't love the possibility that this was just a line designed pretty much to make Mattel look progressive and cause a media frenzy, but as Stockholm Syndrome-y as this may sound, I'm honestly just glad this line exists.
I'm grateful that Mattel put this onto shelves and gave kids and collectors the opportunity to play with a gender-neutral doll.
Right now, the world is not a friendly place towards trans people. It's actually baffling to think how things have actually gotten worse since 2019 when this line launched.
But having this doll line of kids being able to dress how they want, be their true selves and be valid in all of that, it's comforting to see a line like that exist.
It's something that kids should be able to do, something that hasn't been possible for a lot of trans kids, both past and present. And if a certain group of people have their way, it's something that future kids might not be able to do.
Creatable World was probably never going to be the next Barbie or Monster High. This is a line that lived and died by its central purpose of being the gender-neutral fashion doll. You could even argue that the way the dolls were packaged and marketed felt closer to a Lego set than a Barbie doll. It was more about projecting what you wanted onto a doll and having that freedom of choosing outfits, hair pieces, and accessories, and less about building an established world.
Or was it?
Because in terms of brand messaging, Creatable World might not have really been that different. From Barbie and her determination to do and be anything she sets her mind to, from Monster High and its message of being yourself and embracing your freaky flaws, from Ever After High and its belief in choosing your own destiny. Creatable World, in a way, did build its own world. Somewhere you can dress in whatever fun clothes you like without judgment, where you can assert your identity and be accepted for it, where all who come to play really are welcome. I wish I could live in that world.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope that it summed up the line quite nicely. I'm always here for celebrating discontinued doll lines, so if there's one you want to see in this series, feel free to let me know. I can't give any guarantees. I've actually been really lucky to have had for my past 2 videos dolls that have been really easy to access. I've been able to buy the Wild Hearts Crew dolls pretty easily for that video. I already had my Creatable World dolls for this one. But as always, if you like this video, then give it a like. Come chat with me in the comments, let me know if you have any of these dolls, or if this happens to be your first time hearing about the line. And if you want to see more doll content from me, feel free to subscribe to the Olliverse Dolls channel. You can also follow me on Instagram at Olliverse Dolls. All of the details you will need to find me are in the description. Thanks again for watching. From me and the Pog, stay true, stay strong, trans lives matter, and have a blessed day. Bye! Ooh, turns out I finally found a way to sort out my storage solution so I don't have to keep all my Creatable World clothes in that old Wild Hearts Crew box. I can just use my Sunny Madison lunchbox, which I got from AliExpress. So I think this could probably fit a good amount of accessories, got a good amount of space. You got this neat little front pouch, and oh, I think we can. We'll workshop it.